I get it. All right, so should we go to the bad, the ugly, and the good? Uh, so let's start with the bad. Um, Maybe this was a necessary consequence of the NIL situation, but college football, which is not something I've been paying a ton of attention to over the last few years, but it kind of sucks now. Like there's very few drives. There's actually they're trying to speed up the game with the running clock. What the running clock has done is actually left fewer plays and more commercials, is what they've done out of this.
I have noticed that.
So we're gonna see this year probably record lows for passing yards and rushing yards as the for the season, right? For what's the high for the season? I guess we're going to be looking back. Passing yards are probably be back in like the early 1980s, maybe 1970s level of who's going to be in that. Rushing yards, we may be back. I don't even know where we're going to put rushing yards. But this is I watched some of Boston College against Auburn.
Oh wow.
No, not Boston College, Auburn. It was Auburn and God, who are they playing? I can't think who it was. There's somebody who I was rooting for. And I was like, this game is like way too fast. Oh, it was UMass. That's right. It was UMass and Auburn. And UMass actually looked really good for their first 6 plays. And then they had like 2 more drives and then the half was over. Like, I was like, what is going on with this? Why does this? It's just not fun. They're taking, like, they've already done all they can to destroy the NCAA, destroy everything at this point. Honestly, you want promotion relegation?
I would love that.
College football is ripe for promotion relegation.
I didn't I not say a long time ago that if that existed, Vanderbilt would have been demoted to the Sun Belt years ago.
Yeah, but it's not even going to be that. We'll have like, the top 20 teams, and then the next 20, and people fall down and people come up. And we'll have Northwestern, Vanderbilt, Stanford, and Boston College in tier 4, fighting it out for who gets to stay there and who gets to go up to tier 3.
The only problem though with that, when I think about it, is I don't know. I'm not completely versed on how the transfer portal would work. So
Wait, the transfer portal works?
I don't think it does anymore. I mean, I think God, I wish Bill Carroll was here. Like he's the college football guy.
Yeah.
Because I don't completely know how that works, but because I know it used to be that if you change schools, you have to sit out a year, but I don't think that's
Not anymore. That's not it anymore, unless you're that one kid, Therese, whatever his name is, at University of North Carolina.
Right. So
Yeah.
I mean, if you did something like that, I mean, like the fluctuation would be in terms of player movement would be crazy because let's be blunt, most of them aren't there to get an education.
It's already there, but we've already seen with the NIL stuff coming in, Caleb Williams, if he doesn't like who's got the number 1 pick, he may just stay in the NFL, the NCAA another year. He's gonna make $2.5 million this year in college. If he wins the Heisman Trophy again, which is entirely possible, next year, if he sticks around another year, that might be 10, 15, 20.
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that too, but it's just interesting that what his dad said about how the NFL, because they're so into parity, makes it so that the best players are going to the worst situations with the worst coaching staff and the worst ownership over and over and over again.
True, but the great thing about being an NFL fan as opposed to being, let's say, an NHL fan, when our teams suck in hockey, they suck for a long time, and it takes a long time to rebuild.
The Canadians are awful, and they've been awful for like a while now, which is wonderful for me as a Bruins fan. But I feel like the Bruins, who had the record-setting year and then got upset by the Panthers in the first round, we're now in that downward spiral now temporarily, and we'll see where we go because we've hit the peak and now we're coming down because all the guys are old and they're gone.
So I guess what I'm saying though with that, I mean, you can go to a shit NFL team and then 2 years later you're winning the Super Bowl, or you get the Rams.
Not if you're a Texan or a Cardinal. Well, I guess the Cardinals have been in the Super Bowl, but like,
okay, but think about your family, because your family's all Patriots fans, right?
Yeah, I mean,
okay. So when did your dad pass away?
Women in my family don't care at all. My son is actually a Bengals fan. He decided he was going to be a
Right.
Bengals fan at one point, and now he only roots for the Bengals.
Which is fine. But so let's say, like, when did your dad pass away, if you don't mind me asking?
10 years ago.
10 years ago. Okay. So tell your dad, okay, 1995. You know, I guarantee you from 2000 to 2020 that the Patriots are going to be the most successful team in the league, so much that they're going to call it a dynasty. What would he have said?
He would not have. He would not have believed it. I mean, all the 95 was Parcells. Go back to 91.
91, whichever. But I mean, like, it was.
Parcells, you'd probably get. But like, yeah, after that 96 Super Bowl, when Parcells sold the team out, was going to the Jets and took Curtis Martin with him. I was not aware that 5 years from now would be the best sports time for the Patriots ever. The Patriots went from, let's be honest. So in 1991, there were what, 28 teams in the NFL. The Patriots were probably overall in terms of stature 24th, 23rd. I mean, they were probably ahead of a few. Maybe the Falcons, the Saints really sucked at that point. The Buccaneers sucked at that point. Like, they're ahead of a few. The Cardinals sucked for a long time. I know they had won championships before, but like, they're probably 24th-ish out of 28, 23rd out of 28. Now, if you're looking at all the franchises, they're second. I mean, it's the Cowboys and then them at this point in terms of value. So, although the Rams may be up there now with their new stadium and everything, but like, it's incredible, the turnaround. And I mean, I went to that old stadium. That old stadium was in the middle of freaking nowhere and had aluminum seats that you somehow melted on in the summer and froze to in the winter.
Yeah, like, it was seats in Rich Stadium in Buffalo. They're not fun in the winter.
Yeah, I can't imagine. But anyway, so that's what I'm saying. The college football thing, it's bad. They got to figure it out. Maybe they just need to sell more commercials for all the NIL stuff, but they got to fix it for next year. There's got to be a better solution than what they have this
year. Do you want to go to ugly? Because I don't know if you have a good.
I do have a good. So
have a good. Okay.
They're both the same sport. It's going to surprise nobody. It's soccer.
Well, if Evan's not talking about soccer, at least every other podcast, then
But I mean, there's nothing worse than what's going on in the world right now of sports than what's going on. I would like to remind you, before I finish the sentence, I'd like to remind everybody that 3 weeks ago, Spain won this Women's World Cup. Since then, everything has been, in the words of the Spanish word, I don't know if I should say that Spanish word. It's been bad. I was going to say a Spanish word that's 4 letters long and would have got me banned from a Mexican soccer stadium.
Well, I'll use my part French, their neighbor, and say it's mad.
Mad. There we go. It's been a problem. So it started with, going into the World Cup, I'm going to back up, right? So going into the World Cup back in 2022, a bunch of players threatened to quit because they did not appreciate Coach Jorge Vilda's style, the way he dealt with women, they dealt with players, all sorts of stuff. And they had signatures from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 players who said they would never play for the Spanish national team as long as he remained the coach.
But they did.
He did remain the coach.
Okay.
But this has been something that's been brewing for a while. They just did not like the man. They did not appreciate his tactics. They did not appreciate the way he impacted their emotional state and health. Let's put it that way. Is that they're looking for. The Spanish Federation responded by saying, up your nose to the rubber hose. You're playing. If you're not playing for us, we're going to get junior players. Who would relish a chance.
Did you watch Welcome Back Cotter before you did this, by the way?
Freddie Boom Boom Washington's my spirit animal.
Okay, yeah.
So they made the World Cup. They won the World Cup, and afterwards, of course, the captain got kissed by the director of the Spanish Federation, who also was basically doing WWE moves and doing the jack off symbol in the stadium while he was watching the game going on. And the Spanish Federation there have been tons of calls for him to resign. The Spanish Federation stood by that guy and stood by that guy and stood by that guy. I can't think of his name right now. His mother actually went on a hunger strike in a church because her son is being so badly treated by this whole situation, even though we all saw him kiss somebody on national TV who clearly did not want to be kissed. So
sorry, I was going to say, but when that all happened, right? And I'm watching that. My first thought, and obviously we're reacting here in North America, and my knowledge of Spanish culture isn't the strongest. I thought, oh shit, I guess they're more liberal there.
As someone who wants, what's that?
I don't know. That's not from me.
It's not from you. It's from me. Oh no. Maybe it's I have a commercial going for the station I have up here. It could be. It's a Spanish language thing, so that makes more sense. Sorry about that.
No, all good. I thought maybe you were gonna play the kiss.
Where is this coming from? When I start closing these things, see what happens.
We'll just pause temporarily.
I just closed it. Right now that our Spanish language interloper has been identified and terminated on my computer here. So I was someone who almost drowned in the Costa del Sol. I will tell you that usually it's as a kiss on the cheek they do in France. It's not usually mouth to mouth resuscitation. It's how you greet somebody in Spain.
That's what I thought, but I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. So she was real upset about it. The Spanish Federation is real upset about it. UEFA has condemned them. They threatened to pull out of all UEFA competitions, which is hilarious. Because let me ask you how much money Spain is making if they don't have all their teams in the Champions League and the UEFA tournaments.
They're not. A lot. They're not doing that.
They're not doing that. That's like, oh, you're gonna take your ball and go home? Cool. Enjoy your games against Morocco and Tunisia.
Yeah, I'm sure. Create the Three Nations Cup. I'm sure that's going to work out really well for you.
Yeah. Can you imagine, like, just Morocco and Spain having to play over and over again? One of my favorite dichotomies in all of like mental for a country is Spain is so pissed about Gibraltar being owned by the British, but it doesn't understand why Morocco's pissed about Ceuta and Melilla being owned by them.
A lot of people don't understand a lot of things. But it's funny when you said, like, imagine Spain, Morocco over and over again. I had a flashback as a kid. All right, we finally get some hockey on. Oh, it's Montreal, Hartford.
Hey,
it's the same division.
Not diss on the Whalers and Brass Bonanza, my friend. Bring back the Whalers. All hail the Whale.
The Whale, when I would watch those games over and over, was the post-Gordie Howe Whale. But I couldn't even tell you. Was Ron Francis even there yet? I don't even know.
Yeah. Anyway, after this is turned, they just fired the coach. Finally, Jorge Vilda got fired this week. They replaced her with Montse Tomé, who's the first woman ever to lead the Spanish women's national team. And their response was essentially, "Gracias, Jorge." There was a statement declaring that over the course of his 8-year term, he's been key to remarkable growth in women's football and leaves Spain a world champion and second in FIFA ranking, which are all probably true. But nobody liked it. So this whole thing is just an absolute mess and a disaster. I don't know how Spain gets out of it.
From any way you look at it.
Yeah. It's like again, they won the World Cup. Imagine if they'd lost.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it depends on what expectations. Well, okay, if they lost, then she doesn't get kissed.
True.
So this doesn't sort of like go into motion.
She doesn't get kissed. I still think the coach gets fired though with everything else. But I mean,
what really propelled this? Now it's the world eyes on you.
Yeah, sure.
So he's probably still the coach. It's probably still the same toxic thing, but we've seen. It's funny because I just did a review on something. There was Mike Keenan because we did look at the Canada Cup, right? And like king of toxicity, loved everywhere he went until he wasn't, until he was hated, usually within 2-3 years.
He basically got like 4 seasons and then he was out. It's the same thing with Bruce Cassidy, who did real well in Vegas this year after the Bruins crashed out.
Mhm.
Like Bruce Cassidy's going to be great there for 3 years, and in the fourth year, everyone's going to hate him.
But one did win, was a winner.
That's true.
And
he won the only Stanley Cup that ever happened.
Yes, because the Stanley Cup has begun and ended in New York City in 1994.
100%. That's the thing. Every time they have it, they have Messi with the cup over his head. That's the one that happened.
But he didn't have a Gary Coleman on his lap for the Rangers Cup. Actually, that would have been much weirder. He would have been in his 20s then.
I don't even know what to say about that. I'm gonna just keep moving on. So let's go to the good.
Sure.
And this is gonna be a sort of a weird good in a way. We're still talking soccer. I'm gonna talk about Lionel Messi and his impact on MLS.
Okay.
So let's get this straight. The Miami team without Messi doesn't just suck, it mega sucks. It's awful. It's an awful fucking team. Messi came and they've rearranged some of the players and everything ever since it's been there, and they won the weird cup they created between Mexico and US, but all the Mexican teams had to play in the US situation. I don't even know what that cup was, but they ended up winning that when Messi scored 8 goals in 6 games, right? Or 9 goals in 6 games. Some of those goals were fantastic. He's taking that team that's terrible. They're gonna probably keep going, advancing up here. Their pink jerseys, I've seen them all over here in Chicago.
Oh,
tons of Messi pink jerseys all over the place. Here's what that is going to do, and why this is the right time for it. So back with the USL, back in the day, we had Franz Beckenbauer and Pelé and all those people in the 1970s. Were massively overpaid with the New York Cosmos for something that just ultimately wasn't going to work.
Mm-hmm.
The MLS is its own weird league that's unlike any league in the world. It's like kind of a single entity league where there are individual owners, but the league itself controls who can go to what team, and there's a bidding process of all sorts of weird stuff. No other league in the world is run like that. But the MLS has been around since 1996 now, right? Mm-hmm. There's 27 years in to this thing, and they've had teams that have folded. Miami Fusion, the first Miami team, the Tampa Bay, I can't remember Tampa's original name. The San Jose Earthquakes went out. The Chivas USA has gone out. It's not. I have Tampa Bay Rowdies, but I think it was USL team.
I thought it was USL, but maybe they kept the same.
I can't remember what the Tampa Bay team was. It's on my tip of my brain. It's just not coming out.
But there were growing pains.
They're growing pains, but I mean, that happens with every league. Remember the Providence Steamroller? Like, there were the Frankfurt Yellow Jackets. Like, there are teams that just didn't make it in every league, right, at the beginning. So that's part of the process. Have they overgrown themselves? I think probably yes at this point. There's, I think, too many teams. In
30 now?
I mean, San Diego's made a big announcement that they're going to announce their team name and colors and stuff in October. I think they're up to 30. They're coming up on 30 if they're not at 30 already. But we're not at the point where having a major star from overseas. I know that we've had Wayne Rooney was here, David Beckham was here, people like that. But no offense to Wayne Rooney and David Beckham or Roy Keane, none of them are Messi.
Mm-hmm.
Just none of them are Messi, and they got creative in how to get Messi over here. So Messi gets part ownership of the FC Miami because Beckham's the owner, and he gets a whole bunch of the money they get from Adidas that has using for sponsoring the league with the jerseys. They basically made up what they couldn't pay him directly from league funds, right? What this has done, and a lot of people are like, well, it's unfair. He went to Miami, it's Beckham's team. As Alexi Lalas pointed out earlier this week, if he'd wanted to go to St. Louis, guess where he'd be?
St. Louis.
If he wanted to go to LA, if he wanted to go to New York, if he wanted to go to New England, if he wanted to go to Seattle, wherever he wanted to go. But Miami is technically the closest team to Buenos Aires. And they're direct flights from Miami to Buenos Aires all the time. He took one the other day, scored an incredible goal to win the first World Cup game. By the way, World Cup qualifying started today as well for 2026.
Oh, good. Okay.
Argentina played Ecuador. Ecuador was already at -3 points because they had fielded an unfair player last time, so they got deducted 3 points. So they're at a massive disadvantage. But then they had to go to Argentina, Estadio Monumental, for their first game, which is a tough
I
call.
always wonder why Paraguay never did so much better than Uruguay, because they had twice as many Guays.
True, but they have a lot fewer people because they had a war in which like 1/3 of their adult male population died, and they had.
Paraguays.
Yeah, yes, I get it. It's no one quite knows what a paraphernalia is, so. Yeah, I'm sorry, I missed it already. But the impact of Messi on this at this point is such that, well, he is dominating the league in his mid to late 30s at this point. He is bringing so much more attention to the league that people who we're at the point now where we have multiple players. Neymar's in Saudi Arabia, Cristiano Ronaldo's in Saudi Arabia. We have people who are chasing the money everywhere, but if we have people who are actually looking at the MLS as a legitimate league, even as we get there, we're going to have more players in the US who are interested in soccer, thereby increasing the native base in it. And we're going to have more people internationally who want to come in and make it better. I mean, do you know who the MVP of MLS was last year?
No idea.
Carlos Heel. Give you one guess what team he plays for. Give you a guess what country he's from. Carlos Heel plays for New England Revolution, who led the league in points last year and then lost to New York, what used to be the Metro Stars, the Red Bulls, in the first round of the playoffs. But like, he's bringing Carlos Hill's incredible. He's a great player. I love watching him play. I watched a lot of Revolution games, but he's not Messi, right? And having players like that who are really good, I'm not going to be surprised if we have more players come over internationally to try out some of these teams because they've seen the impact of it. And it's going to finally be, I think, the thing that fully moves soccer into, at this point, soccer is poised to become the third most popular sport in America. I don't think it'll ever catch football. I don't think it'll ever catch basketball, but it can certainly pass hockey and baseball. I can tell you, my son and all of his friends, none of them watch baseball. It is too boring to them. All the 8 weeks. It's just too boring. The hockey, they'll follow, but it's hard to see hockey. It's like on TV, it's hard to follow. The puck is small. No, I get it. I'm telling you for kids.
Okay.
I'm telling you for kids. I get it, right? I'm not advocating bringing back the Fox 10. But soccer is easy to follow. You can see the ball, you can see where everybody's moving. It's a big, no sport has benefited more from the large screen television than soccer has. Being able to see the movement of all the players on the field. Football, you can still, like, everyone starts in the same place, and you can see guys move down the field. The big screen helps, but not as much as soccer, where it was like a very small area. You couldn't really see what was going on. You couldn't see the runs happening before they happened. Things like that. No sport has benefited from it more than that. And no sport has benefited more from the spread of the internet than that. Because my son spends a ton of time watching FC Barcelona training. Like, where was he going to get that before? Like, what did we have as kids? We had Fred McGriff and the baseball skills training video for sporting training, right? We didn't have anyway. They had the baseball game of the week. We had This Week in Baseball with Mel Allen for sports stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not dissing on Twib, by the way. This Week in Baseball is a fantastic.
No, I know you're not, but I mean, like, if you would have told us when we were watching that, hey, what if I could tell you that you could watch every single game?
Yeah,
right.
Whenever you want. Like, I'm still pissed at my cable or my satellite provider because if I want to get the NHL network, they're making me get golf, speed, and like a whole bunch of other programs that I want. Like, just get me the NHL network. I will pay like $8 a month for the NHL network, but I don't want to pay 40 for these other crappy things.
I got ESPN Plus because they've got the hockey.
Oh, well, maybe I'll do that. But like, it's funny if you ever go to a bar that's NHL network, all their commercials are for like essentially Viagra, Blue Chew, and betting sites. But
I guess a lot of hockey fans have issues.
Yeah.
Hockey fan, I didn't know I had that issue. but that's another story.
It's
I guess,
but anyway, the moral of the story is Messi is a net positive for the MLS. I think it's a great thing going forward. And I think we're going to see a lot of growth out of this. Not so much growth that we're going to need to get to 40 teams unless we're going to start doing promotion relegation. But
that league shouldn't be doing that yet.
no, I mean, they'll never do promotional relegation because someone's going to pay a franchise fee of 100, 200, $300 million if they're have their option of being relegated at some point.
Not at this point, yeah.